I remember the exact moment I realized my marriage was over. It wasn't during a screaming match or after discovering some hidden betrayal. It was 2:47 a.m. in a hospital room while I struggled to breathe and my wife scrolled through TikTok with the volume on high. Let me back up a little. 3 weeks earlier, I started feeling off. Nothing alarming at first, just some fatigue, a low grade fever, aches in my joints, the kind of thing you attribute to stress or bad sleep. When I brought it up to Harper, my wife of 6 years, she barely looked up from her phone. You always get like this when work gets stressful, she said, eye roll implied. I brushed it off, tried to push through. That's what you do when you're the dependable one, right? When you're the one who keeps the house running while your partner finds herself through yoga and micro influencing. But the symptoms didn't fade. They escalated. I developed a high fever, joint pain that felt like fire in my bones, my sweats, confusion. At one point, I woke up completely disoriented, unable to lift my right arm properly. My heart pounded in my chest like it was trying to escape. I whispered for Harper, barely able to speak. She groaned, rolled away from me, and muttered the words that would rattle around my brain for weeks. I'm not your babysitter. Handle it yourself. I lay there for what felt like hours, but was probably 20 minutes until I managed to call my sister Alexandra. She lived 45 minutes away, made it in 20. She said my voice sounded like I was underwater. Alexandra took one look at me and said, "You're going to the hospital." Now, Harper, sitting on the couch and scrolling, didn't even flinch. Fine. Go ahead. You're just enabling his attention seeking. The ER was chaos. The words septic shock were tossed around like confetti. I had a 104.2-degree fever, crashing blood pressure, and an infection that had gone systemic. I was slipping away. The doctor asked how long I'd been feeling sick. I told him, and he raised an eyebrow before glancing at Harper, who was still browsing her phone. They admitted me immediately. Alexandra stayed with me as long as the hospital allowed, Harper. She left after 15 minutes, grumbling about having to pay for parking. Over the next 10 days, I went through a gauntlet of antibiotics, IV drips, tests, and foggy sleep. Alexandra visited every day, bringing my laptop, clean clothes, and checking in with the doctors. Harper visited twice. The second time, she brought me a cold coffee and told me all about a party I missed. When I asked her to hand me my water cup, she rolled her eyes. I'm not your babysitter. Handle it yourself. Same tone, same dismissive wave, same sting. A nurse found me moments later, struggling to lift the cup with shaking hands. She helped me sip, adjusted my pillow. She even joked, "Guess you'll have to tip me big for this 5-star service." That nurse, whose name I don't even remember, showed me more care in 1 minute than my wife had in 6 years. That was the moment, not dramatic, not explosive, just clarity. 10 days later, I was discharged. Harper didn't come to pick me up. She had an early meeting. Alexandra handled it like she had handled everything else. On the drive home, I stared out the window, planning my exit. They say near-death experiences make you reevaluate everything. My marriage was the first thing on the chopping block. Harper didn't even ask how I felt that night. She chatted about weekend plans while I struggled to open a water bottle. She probably thought she'd won, that she'd put me in my place. What she didn't know was that I had already texted Alexandra. "I need out. Can you help?" The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in silent preparation. Alexandra found me a month-to-month apartment. She helped me slowly move essentials when Harper was at work. Harper didn't notice. She was too busy filming avocado toast for her Instagram story. The day I moved out, I waited until she left for work. I left my keys and a note on the counter. No drama, just facts. I'd included a copy of my discharge papers with the word sepsis underlined. I blocked her on every platform. Changed my number. Alexandra helped me furnish the new place. The first night, we ate takeout on a hand-me-down couch and watched reruns. Then came the text from Harper. "Very funny. You'll be back when you realize you can't handle being alone. You're being ridiculous. Just because I didn't spoon-feed you in the hospital doesn't mean I don't care. I already told everyone how unstable you've been." And then the email. "You're embarrassing both of us. Everyone knows you're doing this for attention, like you always do. Come home. We'll pretend it never happened. I'll even let you pick the Netflix show." I didn't reply. I booked my first therapy appointment instead. The therapist listened. Then she said, "There's a difference between being lonely and being alone. You were lonely in that hospital room with your wife. Now you're alone and already doing better. She was right. I started recovering. Slow, but steady. I cooked my first real meal, just pasta, but it felt like climbing Everest. My neighbors brought soup when they heard I'd been sick. Their kindness made me cry more than the divorce did. Months passed. I built a new routine. I bought secondhand furniture. I laughed more. I slept better. And then came the unexpected. Naomi. We met at a sepsis survivor support group. She had lost her husband to the same infection that nearly killed me. She'd understood what it meant to rebuild from ashes. We started with coffee, then walks, then dinners. Harper, of course, found out. Her messages escalated. She's just a rebound. You're making a mistake. You're punishing me. Enough already. I didn't respond, but when Harper showed up at my office, security escorted her out. 1 year later, Naomi and I got engaged. No big announcement, no filtered photos, just us and a quiet, perfect moment. 2 years later, Harper tried one last stunt. She crashed a charity gala we were organizing for sepsis awareness. I was giving a speech. She was in the crowd, already crying for sympathy. I told the truth. I shared my story. I played audio recordings Alexandra had insisted I take. Harper's cold words, her dismissal. I showed screenshots, footage, documents. Harper ran out in tears. Her social media went dark. And that night, I slept soundly beside Naomi, knowing I had survived something worse than sepsis. I had survived someone who was willing to let me die. Now I'm living.